Satoru Gojo beat Sukuna before their fight even started. With no context, this claim comes across as a borderline illegal take, which is objectively incorrect because, you know, Kit Kat. But obviously the whole point of this video is for me to give you the context to this claim. And to clarify, this video is not about Gojo's actual battle against Sukuna, nor is it a Gojo revival theory. It is something else entirely that everyone should be able to enjoy. Well, except the special grade Sukuna glazers, because there's honestly no convincing those freaks that Sukuna will lose. I'm really desperate to start my yapping, so I'm gonna cut this intro short and get straight into why Satoru Gojo has been many steps ahead of Sukuna since day one. So let me get started by pointing out that Gojo contradicts literally everything Sukuna stands for. Sukuna believes that with absolute power, you should sit at the top of the world and do whatever the fuck you want because no one can really stop you. Despite Gojo's ability to literally clear the entire verse single-handedly though, he chooses to remain a not-so-humble school teacher. Gojo knows better than most how lonely a life with unrivaled power can be, so he totally rejects all of Sukuna's ideals. And to be honest, even now, Sukuna hasn't managed to comprehend Gojo's unique strength. He simply saw Gojo as an unbelievably strong sorcerer who idiotically chose to not seize everything as his own. Sukuna simply cannot comprehend why someone as strong as Gojo didn't care for being at the top. When they were fighting, Sukuna saw their battle as nothing more than a contest of strength, nothing more than proving who was the strongest sorcerer. But what he failed to see was that Gojo's true intentions were far more complex than that. The King of Curse's inability to comprehend anything other than absolute power blinded him to the fact that Gojo had already ensured his execution. It just won't be Gojo that carries it out. Despite being the absolute strongest in his era, Satoru Gojo dedicated his whole life to something far more impactful than simply exercising his power. Sukuna and Gojo both understand the burden of loneliness that comes with unrivaled strength. The difference between them is that Sukuna embraces it, whereas Gojo rejects it. Gojo's motivation for becoming a teacher was to raise a new generation of brilliant sorcerers and have them reform the Jujutsu Society. Of course, he does also consider the approach that Sukuna would take of just killing off all of the higher-ups and forcing change, but he knows that growth cannot be forced, so instead he nurtures and raises the new generation to reject the tragic isolation of being a Jujutsu sorcerer and reform their society. It also happens that the increased strength of cursed spirits, due to the birth of Gojo himself, then causes the new generation of sorcerers to be born so much stronger in order to maintain balance. To put it simply, rather than embrace the isolation that comes with his strength, Gojo chose to lead the new and improved generation down a better path than the one he and his boyfriend went down. Think of it this way, okay? Gojo and Geto were individually weaker as sorcerers when they were happy and fighting together. The cost of Gojo becoming the absolute strongest was his best friend. It was also this experience that taught Gojo about absolute strength and the isolation it brings. So he would rather everyone be together and happy than crazy strong but alone, because Gojo believes even if no one can do it individually, together they can surpass him. This right here is Satoru Gojo's dream, and it is the reason that Sukuna has already lost. Now, Gojo may be looking like a Christmas cracker right now, but the dream that he dedicated his whole life to is only just starting to become a reality, and it's making Sukuna lose his shit. So without further ado, allow me to introduce Satoru Gojo's ultimate weapon, the Four Horsemen of Jujutsu Kaisen. The Four Horsemen is what I call the most impactful group of heavy hitters who collectively represent Gojo's ideals. They are the sorcerers who will finally teach Sukuna about love and the absolutely enormous ass beating it can give. Don't worry, I'm gonna go through each of the Four Horsemen now, and I strongly recommend locking in because this is the point in the video where everything gets tied together and you think, fuck me, Allons-Y is so smart. So the first member of the Four Horsemen is obviously our main character, Yuji Itadori himself. He holds the same technique and potential as Sukuna, but for this video, I don't really give a fuck about that. All I care about is his blood manipulation and his relation to Kenjaku. Blood manipulation is one of the three big curse techniques from the three big families. Now, supposedly, each of these three families descended from one of the big three vengeful spirits of Japan, who are believed to be the original wielders of these techniques. And these three vengeful spirits are meant to be similar in strength and even comparable to the King of Curses, being labeled as natural disasters. The three families that descended from these spirits continued to pass on their technique and became the three leading parties of Jujutsu Society. And they were also the strongest families, but like, no shit. Now what I want you to think about is who leads these three clans now? More specifically, who is the leader of the Kamo clan? No one has really realized it yet because they're all too busy celebrating Miwa's arrival on the battlefield, but the current Kamo clan head is Yuji Itadori. Think about it. Kenjaku recently reclaimed his position as Kamo clan head, and then Yuta came along and promoted him to just head. Being Kenjaku's golden child and having blood manipulation, it makes sense that Yuji will replace him as the Kamo clan head. This basically means that Yuji Itadori is currently representing the Kamo clan, one of the big three families, as its leader in this fight against Sukuna. Now, the second horseman is very obviously Yuta Okkotsu. Until Yuji reaches his full potential, Yuta will remain the strongest heavy hitter and number 3 in the verse. But his crazy strength is not really what matters here. After taking him in and saving him from execution, Gojo revealed to Yuta that they are distantly related, having both descended from the vengeful spirit Sugawara Michizane. Since we have only heard rumors and have never come close to meeting a Gojo clan member other than Satoru, Yuta is basically representing the Gojo clan in this fight. Now, this is pure theory crafting, but I do suspect that Satoru left the head position to Yuta since he technically is a Gojo, and Gojo has no kids of his own. Again, point is that Yuta Okkotsu is also representing one of the leading families in this fight. Now, the third horseman of Jujutsu is probably someone you won't expect, but it is Megumi Fushiguro. Sure, he may not be in fighting shape right now, but that's a problem for another time. All that matters is that he will rejoin the fight. As you all should know, Megumi is the current leader of the Zenin clan, or at least what used to be the Zenin clan. Whatever, the point is he represents one of the big three families and has the Zenin's most prized inherited technique, the 10 Shadows technique. Now, you may be wondering why Megumi has been put in a group of heavy hitters. Well, it's because I believe when Megumi makes a comeback, and he will, he is taking a load of Sukuna's cursed energy, knowledge, and a fully unlocked cursed technique with him. But the point is, Megumi represents the third and final clan leader. Now that you have seen where I'm going with this, I'm sure you're wondering who number 4 is. Well, my very weeb-like friends, may I introduce you to Kinji Hakari? Yeah, no chance. It's Maki Zenin, because obviously. She is the next generation Toji Fushiguro who was saved from the Zenin clan by Satoru Gojo. And like Toji, she escaped cursed energy and the chains of fate. And due to heavenly restrictions having such a massive impact on the story of Jujutsu Kaisen, it just made sense to me that she should be in this group, especially because she is still knocking about and important in this fight. Since everybody knows that Yuta is alive and well and just busy getting his 6 eyes transplanted, these 4 characters are the top 4 strongest and most impactful characters remaining. And Hakari fans, please stop and pay attention to the word impactful, okay? Anyway, everything I explained above shows that Gojo's dream is becoming a reality. Yuji, Yuta, and Megumi now represent the entire Jujutsu world as they are the big 3 clan heads. Or at least in Yuta's case, the only person we know associated with those clans. The reform of Jujutsu society Gojo always dreamed of and worked towards his whole life is now a real possibility, but only once Sukuna is dealt with. Luckily though, Gojo's dream also involved this strong new generation of sorcerers living the life that Gojo wished he could have kept, which means that they do not have to fight alone. As Gojo proved when he ultimately lost the 1v1, jumping Sukuna is the only way that this fight is winnable. I do also really like that Gojo paved the way for this group by pushing Sukuna to death's door and shattering his output in that 1v1. Now, when you actually deep it, there are so many great parallels with these 4 characters specifically. Yuji is basically a Sukuna 2.0, but instead of having Sukuna's depressing childhood, he was saved and taught by Gojo. Sukuna was too far gone for Gojo to teach about love, but he tried anyway, although Yuji was in a perfect state to learn from Gojo, and he did. So Gojo did actually manage to teach Sukuna, only it was the new generation Sukuna, not the old crusty-ass version. Then there's Yuta, who was also saved by Gojo, and similar to how I love the parallels between Yuji and Sukuna, I also see these parallels between Yuta and Gojo. Yuta's own strength manifested as a curse of love and bound to his soul, and the curse, Rika, then hurt a lot of people, which made Yuta want to isolate himself. But Gojo knows how lonely that can be, so he takes him in and teaches him how to control Rika and cursed energy, meaning he can keep living a normal life around his new friends. My point is, Yuta is insanely strong and cursed by love, but Gojo helped Yuta avoid living a life as sad as his was. That is all that matters. Anyway, Megumi is another great one who I actually think has a great parallel to Geto. Gojo takes him in to save him from the Zenin, you know, after brutally murdering his father, and then trains him up in the hope that he will surpass even him one day. I compare Megumi to Geto because they both suffer from the idea that they aren't strong enough. Geto struggled the most when Gojo became the definitive strongest, and similarly, Megumi doesn't recognize his own potential and always compares himself to the likes of Yuji. Geto and Megumi's techniques are also very similar, and they have also both been forced to feel worthless and weak by a superior opponent. Now, with everything he's been put through, a lot of people think Megumi is going to go down the Geto route, and I do agree, but only to a certain extent, because the difference will be that, where Gojo failed, Megumi's friends will succeed in saving him from that fate. Oh, and I guess Maki was someone who was destined to go down the same path as Toji, but just like everyone else, she was saved and taken in by Gojo for him to nurture and teach. Considering that Sukuna is currently taking major L's and definitely will not be winning the series, all that is left is for the Horsemen to reassemble, save Megumi, and end Sukuna. And that final jumping that saves Megumi and leads to Sukuna's downfall will be the moment that Gojo's dream finally becomes a reality. If and when Sukuna loses to the 4 Horsemen, it will be thanks to Gojo's mission mission to save, nurture, and pave the way for this new generation. The generation that will redefine what it means to be a jujutsu sorcerer. So in the end, Satoru Gojo may have lost the battle, but he most definitely won the war. There is a lot more I wanted to talk about in this video, specifically to do with saving Megumi and beating Sukuna, but I rambled on for far too long and ran out of time. So lucky you, because I am actually going to have to make a separate deep dive video for those topics. For now though, I really hope you enjoyed the more analysis heavy content. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Feel free to join the Discord and follow my Twitter, link below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. You know, unless I go out in a fiery crash or a tree falls on me or something.